Hello, this is Shankar Reddy, lecturer in political science from Government Junior College for Girls, Maredpalli, Secunderabad. Today we are going to discuss about important questions for the second year political science, that is civics. So this time, due to coronavirus, Board of Intermediate released a model question paper with lots of changes. So we have to try to understand the changes which are placed by the Board of Intermediate this time in our question paper pattern. Okay, our question paper contains three parts. Section A, B, C. Section A contains essay answers. So this time they gave six prominent essay answers, essay questions for us. Out of them, we have to choose any three of them. So section A contains essay answers. They gave six. Actually, in that we have to choose any three of them, right? Then go to section B. Section B contains short answers. You know that previously the section B contains 12 answers, 12 questions, but whereas this time section B contains 16 questions. Out of them, we have to choose any 8. The number of choices are increased this time. So each question contains 5 marks. Each one carries 5 marks. 8 5s are 40 marks. Then go to the section C. This contains the 2 marks one. Previously, this section contains 20 questions. Out of them, we have to choose 15. But this time, firstly, they allotted 25 questions. Out of them, we have to choose 15 2s are 30 questions. Have a look at the important questions, which is the model paper officially released by Board of Intermediate this time. So go to the section A. Listen, 10 marks questions. Explain the salient features of Indian Constitution. And the second one is that explain the fundamental rights as incorporated in Indian Constitution. Third one, describe ordinary powers and functions of President of India. And fourth one, explain the powers and functions of Indian Parliament. Fifth one, explain the various factors which led to the agitation for the separate Telangana state. And sixth one, discuss the formation of Telangana as the new state in the Indian Union. Then this is about the essay answer part. You have to choose any three of them. Okay. Then go to the section B. It contains the short answers. The 7th number of the short answer is that explain any 4 causes for the Indian national movement. Then 8th one, write about the important events during the Gandhian phase of Indian national movement. The 9th one, write about the election of vice president and his functions. And 10th one, explain the functions of Speaker of Lok Sabha. 11th one, write about powers and functions of the state governor. 12th one, explain the powers and functions of the chief minister. 13th one, describe the powers and functions of the High Court. 14th, describe the legislative relations between union and states. And 15th one, mention the financial relations between union and states. 16th one, describe the main provisions of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Then 17th one, describe the composition and powers of Jilla Parishad in Telangana. 18th one, describe the various anti-corruption laws in India. 19th one, explain the provisions of gentleman agreement. 20th one, what is smart governance? 21st one, explain any 2 features of India's foreign policy. 22nd one, briefly describe the powers and functions of the Secretary General. Then go to the section C. It contains the 2 marks answer, 2 marks questions. 23rd one, moderates in the Indian national movement. The next one, Constituent Assembly. Preamble of the Indian Constitution. right to equality, right to religion, any four fundamental duties, difference between ordinary bill and money bill, the composition of Union Council of Ministers, composition of Rajya Sabha, composition of State Council of Ministers, appointment of the Chief Minister, Legislative Assembly, write note on Union List, Niti Ayog, Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch, Mayor, what are electronic voting machine, whistleblowers, Hyderabad as common capital, Million March, Students JAC, Lokayukta, list the main organs of UNO. What is Panchashil? These are the questions. Actually, previous question paper contains 37 questions, but this time our question paper contains 47 number of questions. That is indicates the choices are increased. If choices are increased, then the freedom automatically increase. So you have to choose whatever you wish. Okay. So due to Corona, this time the Board of Intermediate gave flexibility in selecting the answers. Understood? So now we can discuss the question and answers step by step. So we will discuss all the 10 marks questions. At the same time, 5 marks questions. At the same time, the 2 marks questions. Those are important, which are mentioned in the model question paper as well as the out of the model question paper. We will try to cover step by step. Just now we observed the model question paper which is released by Board of Intermediate officially. In that, we will try to explain the question and answers one by one. Now I am going to explain the first and the foremost important 10 marks question, that is explain the salient features of Indian Constitution. Explain the salient features of Indian Constitution. Right? So this is the question we can explain today in very clear manner. So actually this question occupied most of the time in the number 1 position. Alright? The number 1 question is in our question paper is that explain the salient features of Indian Constitution. In that question you have to mention the small introduction part. And after the introduction, you have to explain the salient features. Right? So these are the main content in the first 10 marks one. That is one introduction, then salient features. Have a look at this. You have to mention the small introduction, that is width of 3 or 4 lines. Okay? How to write the introduction? About the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is the prominent constitution in the world. It was adopted by the Constituent Assembly and it was drafted by drafting committee which is chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. For making the Indian Constitution, it took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. It was adopted on the date of November 26, 1949. The Constitution of India adopted November 26, 1949. It was came into force in the year Jan 26, 1950. Clear? So for this, the Constitution makers took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days. So you have to use this as introduction part of the first salient features of Indian Constitution. Once again, what is the introduction part? How the Constitution formulated, by whom it was formulated, who formulated this Constitution, that is the drafting committee, who chaired the drafting committee, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. when it was adopted by the Constituent Assembly, November 26, 1949, and when it was came into force, Jan 26, 1950, it took 2 years, 11 months, 18 days for making the Constitution of India. Then after this, you have to go with salient features, explanation of the salient features one by one. There are two methods actually. If you want to list out the entire salient features at a glance, then you have to select one by one for the explanation. Otherwise, we have to directly explain the one of the salient feature one by one. Okay, go with the second method, that is explanation of salient features one by one. First salient feature is that detailed and written constitution. Written constitution. Detailed and written constitution. And second one is that India is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. India is the sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. And third one, noble ideas. Noble ideas. And fourth one, combination of rigidity and flexibility. And fifth one, unitary and federal features. Federal features. Sixth one, parliamentary government. Parliamentary government. Sixth one, seventh one, independent judiciary. Independent judiciary. Eighth one, fundamental rights. Ninth one, directive principles of state policy. 10th one, fundamental duties. So up to this you have to explain. So understood, this is the 10 marks one. You have to explain the at least 8 points or 10 points, whatever your point. We are not mentioned here single citizenship and the bicameralism and also universal adult franchise, etc. If you are interested, you have to cover that subheadings also. Okay, we will try to explain one by one. You know, the first one, Indian Constitution is the detailed and the written document. According to the Constitution, we observed our Constitution of India is the written document. It was in written form. At the same time, in this, all the provisions for the all community of the people are clearly mentioned. That's why it is the detailed document. Out of the constitutions, Indian Constitution is the detailed constitution in the world, which contains 395 articles, and 22 parts, 8 schedules. At previous time, at early time, now they are increased as 446 articles around, at the 24 parts. At present, 12 schedules are there. So what they indicates, our constitution is a very bulkiest one. That means lengthiest one, because of mention of all the provisions, fundamental rights, directive principles, special provisions for SC, STs, and division of powers. All those clearly mentioned. That's why it is looking like detailed and the lengthiest document. Understood? You have to mention clearly our Constitution of India is written and detailed document, because of it is in written form. At the same time, the Constitution contains this type of articles, parts, schedules. That's why it is looking like detailed and bulky one. because of the incorporation of fundamental duties, direct to principles, fundamental rights, at the same time division of powers between union government and state government, like all those provisions are clearly mentioned, explained in our constitution. That's why it is the detailed document. Then the next provision, is that India is sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. In the preamble of India, we clearly mention the nature of the Indian system. According to the preamble, India is the sovereign country because internally or externally India enjoyed the freedom. So that is, India is the sovereign country. India is the socialist country. India is the socialist country because of we are trying to provide elimination of income inequalities. We are trying to distribute the wealth in equal manner. Okay, we are trying to provide employment to all community of the people. That's why India is the socialist country, India is the sovereign country, as well as India is the secular country because of there is no official religion in India. That's why India is the secular country. In this India, religion is the individual matter. So individual has the full of right to choose and propagate their own religion. And the democratic country, India is democratic country. You know very well, we adapted, our constitution of India adapted democratic system in state, union level as well as state level. So here we adapted indirect democratic system. So through our representatives, we are participating in the administration of the government, right? Then finally, republic. Is India considered as a republic one? Yes, India is a republic because of our head of the India, president of India, indirectly elected by the people. That's why the head who is elected by the people directly or indirectly is called as republic. You have to clearly mention each line for the each segment here. How to mention one line for sovereignty, what is called sovereignty, socialist, secular, democratic, republic. And moreover, you have to clearly mention this socialist word and secular word is not existed in original constitution. The two are mentioned in the constitution 1976 by 42nd Constitution Amendment Act. Understood? So keep it in mind, it's very clear. So this is about second salient feature of the Indian Constitution. Salient features are nothing but the important features of Indian Constitution. They are the basic features of Indian Constitution. Okay. Then the noble ideals. Noble ideas. So you know, in the preamble of Indian Constitution, there are so many noble ideas are mentioned. They are liberty, equality, justice, and fraternity, integrity. Understood? They are the noble ideals which are mentioned in the preamble of Indian Constitution. If you observe the preamble of India once, the preamble of India started with we the people of India having solemnly resolved constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Below that, they are the noble ideas are clearly mentioned. Liberty on what matter? Liberty of thought, liberty of expression, liberty of worship, liberty of faith, like this. In that matters, liberties are provided to the citizens. Equality in the matters of opportunity. Understood? Equality in the matters of treatment. Equality in the matters of treatment we provided. Justice in the matters of politics are nothing but the political justice, social justice, economic justice we provided by the Constitution of India. Then fraternity. Fraternity is nothing but the brotherhoodness. And the integrity, this is the unity and integrity, togetherness. Clear? So these are the noble ideas which are clearly mentioned in Indian preamble, okay, of the Constitution of India. Then go to the combination of rigidity and flexibility. Combination of rigidity and flexibility. So why we are discussing very fast here? Already we made so many videos on this topic. Clear? That's why in examination point of view, we clearly explain what is the main content of the answer, main body of the answer. That's why you have to grasp once clearly the combination of rigidity and flexibility. Combination of rigidity and flexibility also considered as one of the salient feature of Indian Constitution. You know that according to the Constitution of India, there are two features. Rigid features also existed, flexible features also existed. Based on the amendment of the Constitution of India, our Constitution is considered as rigid one as well as flexible one. So here some provisions of Indian Constitution amended by the rigid manner, some provisions of the Indian Constitution amended by flexible manner. For example, if you take what are the provisions amended by rigid manner, actually the fundamental rights. If you want to amend the fundamental rights, it requires 2/3 majority. How much? 2/3 required. 2/3 majority is required. So 2/3 majority is the rigid majority. It's not easy to get the 2/3 majority. Understood? And also the provisions regarding to the Supreme Court, the provisions regarding to the President of India undercomes rigid provision only. So rigid manner we can amend the provisions. And the flexible manner, some of the provisions of Indian Constitution amend by the flexible manner. It requires 1/2 majority. 1/2 majority. 1/2 majority is nothing but the simple majority. So what are the provisions which are mentioned in Indian Constitution? There is a formation of new states, and also alteration of the boundaries of the states, and also changes the names of the existing states undercomes flexible provisions. And also the citizenship provisions also undercomes flexible manner. For amending those provisions, it requires how much majority? Simple majority, that is 1/2 majority. So what about 2/3 majority? That is special majority. So that's why what we concluded, most of the constitution, whether they are rigid or flexible, whereas Indian Constitution having both the rigid provisions as well as flexible provisions. That's why it is the combination, it is the blend of both rigid and flexible features. Okay. Then the next provision is that unitary and federal features. Unitary and federal features. In Indian Constitution, both the unitary features as well as federal features are existed. Understood? Both the unitary features and federal features. What are the unitary features are existed in Indian Constitution? You know, one constitution. Understood? One citizenship, that is single citizenship, and one integrated judiciary. They are the examples of unitary features mentioned in Indian Constitution. One election commission, appointment of the IAS officers. So they undercomes unitary features. Appointment of the governors also, they undercomes unitary features. And the unitary features also existed in Indian Constitution apart from the federal features. What are the federal features existed? You know, the bicameral legislature. Is there bicameral? The union level, there are bicameral legislature, that is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha in Parliament of India. And the division of powers, according to the 7th schedule, we classified entire the powers in 3 lists. They are union list, state list, concurrent list. Okay, and also residuary powers vested with the union government. Clear? So that's why here some federal features also there, as well as unitary features also existed. You have to mention the Constitution of India contains both the federal features as well as unitary features. That is the peculiarity of the Indian Constitution. That's why it is considered as salient feature of Indian Constitution. Clear? Then parliamentary form of government. It is also one of the basic feature of Indian Constitution. Our Constitution maker adopted parliamentary government which is inspired by the British government, whereas we modified somewhat with the British government. In British government, the hereditary head comes as the head of the nation, whereas our parliamentary government contains the elected head. Our president is elected head. That is the small difference between the British government as well as Indian government. Understood? We adapted parliamentary form of government in union level as well as state level. In the union level, the government formulated by the legislature. There was a relation between legislature and executive in parliamentary form of government. That's why always the executive responsible to the legislature. That's why we adapted parliamentary government instead of presidential government. Clear? Then the next one is that independent judiciary. Our constitutional maker adapted independent and integrated judiciary in the Indian constitution. They clearly mention we adapted independent and integrated judiciary. So our judiciary at the supreme level, Supreme Court, below the Supreme Court, there are high courts, and below the high courts, subordinate courts. Subordinate courts are there. There is a chain. The integrated court system, integrated judiciary system adopted by our constitutional makers. At the same time, the judiciary can enjoy the freedom, independent. That's why independent judiciary. The judiciary can enjoy independence in the matters of their rules and regulations, appointment of judges, their salaries and allowances. Understood? That means in that judiciary matters, no executive and no legislature can involve. That's why judiciary can enjoy for the protection of Indian constitution. At the same time, for the protection of individual rights, we have to mention under the independent judiciary. Then the next one, fundamental rights. You know very well, the fundamental rights concept has been taken from the American Constitution and incorporated in the Indian Constitution Part 3. Part 3 of Indian Constitution from Article 12 to 35. Understood? Originally there are 7 fundamental rights. Now there are 6 fundamental rights. One fundamental right, that is right to property, which is deleted from the list of fundamental rights by the 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978. Clear? So you have to mention under the fundamental rights tagline the list of the fundamental rights. Clear? So make the answer, I hope. And the directive principles of state policy. You know very well, Part 4 of the Indian Constitution. Part 4 of the Indian Constitution from Article 36 to 51. 36 to 51 deals directive principles of state policy. The directive principles of state policy are the principles for the state policy given by the Constitution towards Government of India. Understood? They are the directions given by the Constitution for making the state policies to the Government of India. Understood? So these directive principles are classified into 3 different categories: socialistic principles and Gandhian principles, as well as liberal and intellectual principles. We have to cover under this. And finally, fundamental duties. Fundamental duties. So fundamental duties are not originally existed in original constitution. Okay? In our original constitution did not contain the fundamental duties. By 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, we incorporated 10 fundamental duties to the Part 4A, Article 51A. 51A. Understood? Article 51A, Part 4A of Indian Constitution deals fundamental duties which is not existed originally in Indian Constitution. In the year 1976, by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, we added this to the Constitution of India. Now, the fundamental duties increased as 11 in number. 11 in number. So, by 86th Constitutional Amendment Act, 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002, we added one more fundamental duty to the Constitution of India. That's why the fundamental duties are at present 11 in number. So you have to mention some of the fundamental duties like respect of national anthem, respect of national flag, and also promote the nationalistic feelings in the Indian national movement. At the same time, promotion of integrity of the India. At the same time, respect our women, etc., etc. You have to give some examples under this. Clear? So these are the salient features of Indian Constitution. Apart from that, you have to, if you are interested, you have to mention single citizenship. Single citizenship also one of the salient feature of Indian Constitution. You know that our Constitution of India inspired with the British Constitution and incorporated single citizenship, that is national citizenship, for the promotion of unity and integrity among the people of India. Single citizenship. At the same time, bicameral legislature. You know very well, bicameral legislature adopted in parliamentary system in the union level as well as state level. Some of the states adopted bicameral legislature. The legislature which contains two chambers. One is upper house, another one is lower house. Like Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha is called as bicameral legislature. We also providing this feature. Because of we adopted federal system, that's why for representing the states in the central level, we adopted bicameral legislature. That is Rajya Sabha, second house. Clear? Like this, you have to mention some of the salient features of Indian Constitution. I hope it's very clear. I speedily explained because of previously, clearly I explained each and every point in 3 different classes. Understood? For more details, you have to watch once again the previous classes. Okay? Thank you all.